All right, so since it is Killer Animals Week over in Killer Flicks, I did the Deep Blue Sea movies, but if I'm gonna do shark movies, let's get into Jaws, shall we? Okay, now I am just like anyone else. I love Jaws. Holy fuck. Okay, we got the vinyl soundtrack, of course. We've got the novels. We've got my amazing fucking wallet that I've had for too long. Yeah, this is my wallet. This is what I carry every day with me. And of course, who didn't frickin' play the shit out of this when they were growing up? Jaws, the video game. What a silly ass game. Fucking LJN. So, let's get into the Jaws series. This is fun. This is a fun one to talk about. So, let's knock these out. This Blu-ray right here. You see that one? You see that fucking piece of shit Blu-ray right here? Jaws 3's fucking Blu-ray HD picture. See it? It's lying. It is so bad. Oh my god. I'm hoping there's a way to adjust it, because it's just like, I think it's just playing in 3D. I don't know. It doesn't even come with glasses or anything, so I'm not sure, but my god, it looks terrible. I'll probably watch my DVD. I bought it, I brought it home, I threw it in. Jaws 1, which we're gonna talk about right now, looks amazing. Jaws 2 looks fucking fabulous. Jaws 3 looks like dog shit. And Jaws 4, I remember looking really good. The movie obviously isn't all that great, but I'll say some positives about it, of course. So, but let's stick to the first one. Now, where are my notes? Where are my little notes? I think that the first thing you definitely want to talk about here with this movie, and pretty much any movie that this guy is involved in, is the soundtrack, the score by John Williams. I mean, you could take so many films and just be like, John Williams did it. It's just like, there's like, how many fucking iconic scores has this guy done at this point? It's just insane what an incredible career this man has had, and still going. I think he's like 84 now, but he's going to retire from Star Wars after episode 9. Whether or not he'll retire completely, I don't know, but god, just the way that he's able to capture the scene so well, and his music isn't background stuff. It is such an integral part of the film itself. Like, you can't hear the Star Wars theme, the, Raiders of the Lost Ark theme, the Jaws theme. Like, you can't take that out of the movie. Like, it's so necessary for the film. It's as important as any character. So it just blows my mind when I listen to his stuff. That opening, da-dum. I mean, how many times have you been around the water, or when someone brings up Jaws, you're just in your head, you're just like, da-dum, dun 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 dun, dun 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 dun. So yeah, I mean, what more can be said? Sometimes it's a little lighthearted, but I like it. I think it takes away from some of the constant dire situations that people find themselves in, so that adds a little levity to the situation, which is never a bad thing. But I was noticing in this one, and of course this would be me to notice this, the girl that's opening, that in the opening, that's the famous scene. On this Blu-ray, because it's so clear, you can clearly see her boobs, like very clearly, and even some of her freaking vagina. It's like, whoa, okay. And this thing has a PG rating, and it's pretty fucking graphic. I have to say, when I was really sitting back and watching this from I was trying to pay attention for a PG rating, and there's a lot of gore in this movie. And I mean, in comparison to like Halloween or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, movies that people consider to be like over the top, and both of those are rated R. This is rated PG. And we actually get to see a guy chomped in half, a leg torn off of a person and float to the ground, a corpse that's freaking mangled and floats up out of a boat. We have, we have so many moments in this movie. We see freaking blood squirting out of people's mouths, and that girl in the opening just getting chomped and thrown around, and it's a vicious movie. I mean, when you really think about it, when you really watch it, it's just like, wow, I can't believe this got a PG. Now, if PG-13 existed at the time, it would have definitely got at least that. And I'm not sure this deserves an R, but if Halloween, which came out 3 years after this, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which came out the year before this, got an R rating, I don't know. I feel like this movie is more violent. And it has, tits and everything. So you couldn't argue like, oh, well, Halloween has tits. So does this movie. Like, so yeah, I'm not exactly sure how they got a PG rating. Now, the next thing, obviously, is the main three here. Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, and Robert Shaw. I mean, all of them respectively just play such incredible roles in this movie. They're all iconic characters. And I think everyone can agree, though, that Robert Shaw is the standout. I mean, the USS Indianapolis story that he tells is just so intoxicating. It just demands your attention. It's weird. It's like every time that the guy speaks in this movie, it's almost as if, and it might be they're playing with sound, I'm not sure, but it's like all of the oxygen, everything just gets sucked out of the background. And he's like the only thing that matters in that moment, and everything. And there's just such a focus on him when he talks. Like every time he opens his mouth, when he scratches the freaking, the chalkboard with his nails, or when he's telling him about this, the USS Indianapolis, like I said earlier, or just, or like when he grabs Richard Dreyfuss's hands, or Hooper, if you want to know, and he's looking for him, and he doesn't even look at the rope when he ties it off. He just like throws it aside and grabs his hands, and his intensity, it's wonderful. I don't know. He gives one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in a movie in this film. I really believe that this is up there in like the top 10 ever, in my opinion. And as I said, I think Richard Dreyfuss and Schreider play incredible characters as well, but I think they just kind of get overshadowed a little bit by his performance. So I can't not talk about that, because Jesus Christ. As much as I'm not really afraid of horror movies, and I'm not, I don't get scared in movies. That's not to say that movies can't affect me. And this movie affected me, and I think it affected a lot of people. Like, I cannot go to the ocean without thinking about getting attacked by a shark. If it wasn't for this movie, would I? I don't think so. It wouldn't have put it in my mind so deep. Like, it would have been I know that could happen kind of thing. Like if you were to go out into a jungle, you could probably get attacked by a tiger or something. But it's not like at the forefront of your mind like it is when I'm while I'm in the ocean. I cannot be in the ocean without thinking about this movie. It fucking screws my head up. Now, I'm not crazy like other people who are like, I couldn't even take a bath after this. Like, I'm not like afraid of going in a pool because I think Jaws is gonna get me. I'm not completely lost my mind. Nothing against those people. I mean, you're afraid and it's irrational, but man, I literally can't step foot in the water. So this movie had, a lasting effect. I saw this when I was a kid, and I've never been able to go to the ocean without thinking about it. So it had that effect, and it had that effect on a lot of people. A lot of sharks were hunted down and murdered after this movie was made because it just made everyone shark fucking nuts. Like, everyone was just so afraid of sharks after this film. And very few films define their genre or their subgenre. I've said this before. It's like Jaws is the shark movie. Like, it's a definitive film. This is 1975 we're talking about here. This film is 40 freaking 3 years old at this point, and no films even come close. And when Spielberg was he was approached to make the sequel, he said, I already made the definitive shark film. Like, why am I going to come back? I agree. Like, I'm not going to top it, so what's the point? So, and it's not like he didn't go make Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but whatever, that doesn't matter. That was later. People lose their mind later. Look at Carpenter. But yeah, okay, let's move on. I don't want to talk about that too much, but I just think about how much effect that these movies have and whatnot. So, something I really never really paid attention to all that much is when this kid gets killed. Alex gets killed, which if you ever want to see something crazy, look at the deleted scene where the shark pops up out of the water and his mouth is just eating the kid. It's gnarly looking. It got cut out for R ratings, I'm sure. But I never noticed, I noticed, but I just never really committed it to memory that the dog, Pippin, gets killed and eaten before this. We don't see it happen, but the guy's playing with his dog and, the dog is missing. And I guess he could have just swam away, but we're too led to believe he did get eaten. So poor Pippin. But yeah, dogs aren't even allowed on the beach in a lot of places because they can attract sharks and whatnot. So it's Pippin's fault, and he needed to go down for it. I like when they're having the town meeting after this kid's death, and people are up there making jokes, like, is this coming cash or check or something? And then the mayor's wife is like, I don't find that funny. I don't find that funny at all. I'd be that chick in that moment. Like, we're making jokes. This little boy was just eaten by a shark. That is seriously one of the most horrendous deaths I can possibly imagine, is getting eaten alive, especially by a shark. Like, when there's nothing you can do about it at all. Oh God, it's just terrifying. Now, of course, this movie over exaggerates things and whatnot. Sharks aren't really out there for us, but it doesn't keep your mind from thinking crazy shit like that. And even Alex's death, so much blood comes up out of the water from me. It's a kid, it's a child. This child in this movie, Alex Kittner, he's like 8 or something, and we just see blood pouring out of this kid, just blasting out of the water. I'm sorry, this is R rating. If Halloween and Texas Chainsaw is, then this is. Neither of those movies have any gore at all. I just don't know. I don't get it. I don't get how this got a PG rating. And the scene where they're all going out and they're trying to catch a shark, and I love the Richard Dreyfuss line when they're telling him to fuck off, and he's like, "Hey, you're all gonna die." I love that line. Such a sarcastic, shitty remark. But God, that scene where she's just like, "I'm not gonna have you cut open this shark and have the remains of that Kittner kid fall all over that dock." It's so grim. This movie's grim as fuck. And poor Brody, man, he tried so hard to get everyone to listen, and then Miss Kittner has to come and slap him across the face, and he can't even defend himself. It was horrible. And he goes home. He does this in both movies, 1 and 2, both that he's in, man. He is a drinker. Him and his wife like to get drunk and fool around, and he comes home drunk, and he pours himself a glass of wine. He has a glass, and he fills that fucker up. He is getting hammered. And I know a lot of people just jump at that head, the body coming up out of the boat that's been opened up. It's a great scene. It doesn't affect me like that, but I thought I'd mention it because everyone I talk to about this movie is like, "Oh my God," and then the body comes out of the hole, gets me every time. And they have after the Kittner kid dies, Like, they don't want to shut it down because the 4th of July is coming and they're greedy motherfuckers. And there's like boats all along like the outside perimeter of the shore. And then there's guys up in like the shark tower, and there's helicopters sweeping back and forth, and there's a sign that has like a shark's fin on it and a girl saying help me and everything. And people are like, why isn't anyone in the water? It's like, why did you put all of this out here? Because obviously you sanctioned this shit. Why did you put all of this out here if you wanted people to get in the water? Like, I don't understand that. And then that guy's death too, when they're over in the channel, over on the side. When he comes in, he chomps that poor dude who's trying to help him. This movie's fucking graphic, man. I'm telling you. This is crazy. This got away with a PG. I'm going to stop harping on that, but it's just I keep remembering more deaths, more deaths. And yeah, why would Brody let Mike in the water at all? Like, that's just beyond me. Like, he's like, well, why don't you go over there? And it's like, is that connected to the ocean? Yes? Okay, then they probably shouldn't be in there. So why he lets him go there, I have no clue at all. That just doesn't make any sense to me, especially since, like, he says earlier in the movie, like, 95% of shark attacks happen in, like, 3 feet of water or something, which is an actual statistic. But, I mean, in reality, that's where 95% of the people hang out, so it makes sense. But, yeah, it's just like, why is he over there? I don't get that at all. And the first time you see the shark is under that dude, when he bites his leg off and it like falls to the ground. The sheer size of this shark is just insane. I'm a person who, yes, you can tell this shark is fake. Bruce definitely looks fake, but I don't know. There's something charming about it. Maybe it's because I was nostalgia and I've seen it so many times or whatever, but I love the way the shark looks. I just love it. And I love the fact that this shark didn't even work. They put it in the water and it just sank straight to the bottom of the ocean when they put it in. There's just like the fact that they just got inside and they worked it and they made it work and they made the definitive shark film with a fucking shark that didn't even work. That's crazy. It's awesome as fucking hell, dude. And that leg that falls down and hits, like when it gets cut off, it looks so real. Like there's like the hand in the seaweed or whatever, that looks like a mannequin's hand. That doesn't look real at all. But the leg that falls in, so whoever did this hand definitely did not do that leg. I'd be shocked if they did, because one looks totally real and the other one doesn't. Quint's such a psychopath in this. I mean, he basically condemns himself to death. I mean, he could have killed them both if Brody couldn't made this legendary shot that everyone knows wouldn't actually work. Tanks don't blow up like that. They've debunked that on Mythbusters. That shit does not blow up. Doesn't matter. Spielberg said he'd have the audience in his control at that point and they'd believe whatever he wanted them to believe. And absolutely, he was right. But yeah, I mean, Quint just like, he is so obsessed. He has to have it. He's got such pride issues. He's such an obsessive fisherman. This is it. This is his like Moby Dick. He has to have this damn shark. And when Brody's trying to call in for help, he comes in with a baseball bat and he breaks it all up. And he even like goes outside because he's like this brilliant fisherman, like everyone knows in town is like the fisherman. And he pushes his engines too hard. He knows they're gonna blow up, but he is just in this moment of insanity. He can't let it go. And it ends up costing him his life. And then Brody has to, make this 1 in a million smile, you son of a bitch, which is one of the greatest lines ever, even though we never hear bitch. So maybe he was going to say something else. You never know. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to run on too long about this. I mean, everybody knows how wonderful this film is, but obviously I wanted to talk about it as much as I could without being too redundant, which I end up doing regardless because I feel like I need to reiterate things too much. Yeah, so I think that's it for now. I know there was like a lot of shit in the book. Like there's a lot of stuff in the book that's like, this affair between Brody's wife and Hooper. And there's like a mob type of subplot and whatnot. So I'm glad all that shit's cut out because this movie just flows so well. That's a water pun. Okay, let's move on to the next one before I say anything else embarrassing.